We hear a lot about diversity these days, both in the culture and in the body of Christ. But do you know what the biggest half truth of diversity is? This is Brad Bright. Welcome to the God is Issue podcast, where I show how God is the issue in every issue. Why? Because we can trace all our human problems to our view of God. Now, if you find this podcast helpful, please remember to like and subscribe. And when subscribing, don't forget to click on the bell so you'll be notified whenever I post a new podcast. Folks, there will always be diversity. Simply by living in society, we live in diversity. The moment God created Eve, he created diversity. Diversity is part of God's plan for this planet. But the question is, how do we forge unity within diversity? It's in answering this question where we find that we've been sold a half-truth. Now, I'm going to ask you two questions. The first question will expose the half-truth. The second question will begin to reveal God's solution. So, here's the first question. Can you achieve unity by focusing on diversity, by focusing on our differences? What happens when you focus on differences? I don't mean acknowledge differences for what they are. I mean focus on them. For instance, if I focus on I'm stronger than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm better looking than you, I'm more successful than you, I'm a better athlete than you, what happens? Or what about when I reverse all these statements? I'm weaker than you, I'm dumber than you, I'm uglier than you, I have to work 5 times as hard as you to be successful. And I always got picked last when it came to sports. Now what happens? You see, anytime we focus on our differences, it creates division, and unity always becomes the casualty. See, that's the first problem with DEI. DEI doesn't simply recognize the differences, it fixates on them, it obsesses on them. But here's the second problem. Do you know what the goal of DEI is? Unity? Reconciliation? No. The goal of DEI is power redistribution. That's the dirty little secret few people want to talk about. It pits the oppressed against the oppressor in a continual struggle, tug of war for power. It focuses on who has power and who doesn't. You see, DEI sounds so good, doesn't it? Diversity, equity, inclusion. Oh, how nice. But it focuses on what divides us, and it obsesses on power. It fixates not on what God has given me, but on what God has not given me. You see, when I focus on what God has given me, I respond with gratitude, don't I? But when I focus on what God has not given me, I become a complainer. That's why the Israelites whined so much. They focused on what they didn't have. Now, I could focus on the fact that my doctors say my cancer is going to kill me. Or I can focus on what God has called me to do and on the wonderful people he has put in my life. You see, one of those focuses leads to discontentment, doesn't it? The other leads to a grateful heart. Folks, focusing on power redistribution rather than reconciliation will always cause anger and division. Tell me, how do you build unity while focusing on power? At what point will everyone feel like they have enough power? And the answer is never. That's why the Bible calls us to serve one another, to use our power for others, not for ourselves. That's what Jesus modeled. That's what Galatians 5:13 says. Through love, serve one another. By the way, when we focus on serving each other, power redistribution is one of the natural results. But it's not driven by lust for power, position, or recognition. It's driven by love. Love for God and love for each other. We see this in Acts chapter 4, when wealthy believers willingly sold their property to help take care of the needy. They weren't guilted into it. They weren't lamented into it. They weren't shamed into it. It was completely uncoerced. And we see it again in Acts chapter 6 when the apostles appointed godly men to oversee the daily distribution of food to widows. You see, there had been an unequal distribution of food among the Hebrew-speaking widows and the Greek-speaking widows. But it was never about power and position and my rights. It was about genuinely caring for those in real need. Folks, there will always be power inequities, always. But you see, Jesus took transactional power redistribution completely out of the equation when he called us to serve others. You see, the Bible teaches reconciliation, not power redistribution, as the path to unity. Jesus commanded us to do this. He said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's the opposite of DEI. DEI says, do unto others as they have done unto you. You know, it says DEI poster boy Ibram X. Kendi said, the only remedy for past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy for present discrimination is future discrimination, unquote. In other words, discriminate against those who discriminated against you. Do unto others as they have done unto you. It doesn't get any clearer than that. Folks, that's DEI. Do unto others as they have done unto you. You see, DEI is man's solution to power inequities. Reconciliation is God's solution. What do you think Martin Luther King meant when he said, I have a dream that one day little black boys and girls will be holding hands with little white boys and girls? Does that sound like power redistribution to you or reconciliation? You see, that's an inspiring picture of reconciliation, isn't it? It's love your neighbor as yourself. It's do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So the next time someone starts preaching about building unity and diversity, but they fixate on what divides you, yank them off the stage. They may have good intentions, but I think even Robespierre had good intentions. How many French were guillotined because of his good intentions? You see, history labeled his good intentions the reign of terror. It doesn't matter whether someone is talking about race, gender, music, the color of the carpet, or the correct way to share your faith. Address the differences, sure, but don't fixate on them. Fix your eyes on Jesus. He's what binds us together. Never let anything supplant the supremacy of Jesus Christ in your life, including well-intentioned issues. We will never build unity and diversity by focusing on our differences. The half-truth of DEI isn't that there are real differences, but that the solution is to fixate on them. America's problem is not an unequal distribution of power. America's problem is we no longer love God, and therefore we no longer even try to love our neighbor. In fact, we often hate our neighbor, don't we? You see, we need revival, or it's going to get worse, I promise. Now, let's move on to the second question. And here it is. If we can't achieve unity by focusing on diversity, can we achieve unity by being intentional about building unity? Let me reframe that question for you. Is unity the cause of unity? Or is unity caused by something else entirely? Now, let me ask the question one other way. What happens when there is not a common purpose, a common goal or vision to bind people together? Well, unity just absolutely implodes. You see, unity is always a result, an end product, a symptom. A call to unity will never create lasting unity. So what's the solution? What's the only way to build unity and diversity? It's to identify a compelling cause that everyone owns. You see, the more deeply they own it, the greater the unity. The less they own it, the smaller the unity. You know, we're going to have disagreements, and only a shared compelling purpose can unite us. I grew up around Bill Brighton Campus Crusade for Christ, and later on, after a stint in politics, I even joined the staff of Crusade. Here's what I've observed over all these years. The compelling vision of Cru was always to help fulfill the Great Commission. And the more laser focused we were on the Great Commission, the more unity blossomed. But when other issues kind of slithered in from time to time, unity wilted. Sometimes those slithering issues were even good things, which made them even more dangerous. You know, as the adage goes, the good is often the enemy of the best, isn't it? You see, no matter how well-intentioned, a divided focus can never give birth to unity. Hebrews 12 says, fix your eyes on Jesus. Folks, that's the only thing that can bind us all together. That's the only way to build unity and diversity among believers. For the true follower of Jesus, our ultimate purpose is to glorify God, to make Him known, to live exemplary lives of service to Him. When we allow secondary issues into our lives that hijack our focus, the unity of the body of Christ always suffers. God is the issue in every issue, and especially when it comes to maintaining unity in the body of Christ. This is Brad Bright. Thanks for joining me today. God bless. And keep your eyes fixed on Jesus.